Hello, everyone. Today we have a very special podcast. Today we have Denis Kalyshkin, my online mentor. Welcome, Denis. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
First, I would like to tell my story. How did I know Denis? How I find out his courses. So 2 years ago, I was working at somewhere at the ministry, and I came across to his courses, venture analyst, and I started just for interest, and it changed my life. We founded startup ecosystem media, which became major success, and then co-founded startup, which took first place in the present tech award, and shifted to venture investment, venture fund, like an investment manager. So it changed my life, your courses. Behind all this, your venture analyst courses, and thank you so much. I'm very grateful, and it's great to see you here. Welcome. Please introduce yourself. How did you shift from rocket science to venture industry?
Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, thanks for inviting, and great to hear your story, because that venture analyst course is exactly why I'm running it. So I want to provide tools. As I always say, I do this course for me when I was young, because I started my journey in venture capital in 2011, but I was started to thinking about it in 2006. When I was 21 years old, I started at Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology, and it was and I started at the aerospace engineering department, and didn't know what I'm going to do in my life back then. What I was going to do in my life, but one thing I understood is, first, I didn't want to be an engineer, like doing code or like technology myself, because I was a communicator, was pretty proactive, and the other thing I understood, that somehow I wanted to be connected to applied and theoretical researches. So I've always believed in technologies. I'm a space dreamer since I was a kid, and I started at one of the best universities in Russia, and I thought, like, I've seen very many clever, smart people around me. So for you to understand, like, about 12 Nobel Prize winners were graduates stem from my university, and many successful entrepreneurs, like, for example, Revolut founder, they are from my university. There are many successful entrepreneurs in Forbes who are also alumni of my university. So I was among very smart people, but unfortunately, among my peers, I've seen many people back then who were doing tech, but they were looking for grants mostly, and they haven't been thinking about applying it in real life. And I felt that, like, it's not right, because you can't. It's not sustainable, because the grant could be, if you can't find the grant, so you can't continue doing what you're passionate about. So it was 2006, and I decided to become someone who will be helping people to monetize on their technologies, earning money, building business, and then invest in those money in applied and fundamental research, because I still believe it's really important. And I didn't know back then the words like venture capital, startups, business angels, etc. So in 2006, it was, even in Russia, it was even less advanced as it is like in Uzbekistan right now, or like 4 years ago. So I didn't even know back then the word IT. So that's how the market looked like, and I had no mentor who could guide me, so I was looking through trying various things, and my plan was initially to become a strategic consultant. I would would like to work for McKinsey or Bain, and.
So you have applied to McKinsey as well?
Yeah, it was a disaster. So I got interested in becoming a strategic consultant in 2007, and I started to prepare myself for an interview. And in 2008, there was a global financial crisis which hit badly, and I couldn't get a job. But back then I understood that I will be somehow connected to finances, so I decided to get another degree in a higher school of economics in master's degree in corporate finances, and this is where I learned about venture capital, because we had a very good course, and we had a course like 4 months course about venture capital, and it was mind-blowing for me as an engineer, because engineers deals with formulas, and here at the course you come and people say like, okay, let's estimate the market size. Well, like multiply this by that, and that's it. And it was like very unusual for me, and so many very basic information was used to make decisions, or very rough estimates. So it blew my mind, and this is actually why. Coming from my personal pain and from my personal experience, this is why I run this venture analyst course and ask VC and doing podcasts like that, because I understand how it's sometimes it's tough to get information to understand some things, and I want to to provide this information to people in a condensed and simple way, so that they understood what they need to understand, and then apply it to their profession and become successful, not wasting time on this long learning cycle. So that's why this is great that it was a pivotal moment for your life.
It is really. Knowledge transforms. So, okay. So when a founder comes to you for the first time, what do you notice in the first 5 minutes?
So what you can notice in 5 minutes, it's more about the personal impression. Like, is a person passionate about what he or she doing? Is this person about understands what they do? But essentially, the first meeting, it typically takes between 20 to 30 minutes, sometimes 40. It's about like getting to know each other and getting to know like basic parameters of what you're doing. And after the first meeting, like about 80% of the meetings like have no follow-on, because you have this conversation, you understand like it's too early, or it's something you don't like about the founder or about the startup, and the conversation. So first impression is important.
Okay, so what is a pivotal moment to invest to the startup founder? So you're just working like a venture investor nowadays, yes? You have invested to different startups.
For the last 11.5 years, I work for I2BF Global Ventures. I'm an investment director, principal. So it's a New York venture capital. We have more than 200 portfolio companies. We have unicorns. We have public companies. We have co-invested with top VCs, and the fund itself was founded by Stanford alum. So we have quite a track records, and at various moments of my life, I looked into mind-blowing things like Hyperloop, for example, or Boom Supersonic airplane. So I've seen amazing things. So it's very rarely when you make a decision like at the first meeting that you're investing in a person. So I had some stories. So the fastest deal we've made was like But just from my experience, it was 48 hours.
48 hours.
But it was a pretty special case. It was a Series A deal, a US company. They were very advanced in the round, so they were just closing the final $400,000, and we were like, and they operated in the construction industry, IT for construction, and previously to that, I've talked to quite a few competitors and understood, about more about the niche. So for me, it was pretty. We could. Because of those parameters, we could do this decision fast, but typically it takes a while because when you start fundraising, you're talking to dozens of investors, and it takes you minimum a month, so typically several months to close the round. So it's not like the aha moment that like right after meeting I'm saying I'm investing. It's more about yes, you got impressed. You say, well, these guys are onto something and we need to delve deeper into what they're doing. And then you start delving deeper, asking questions and talking to experts. And then you write a memo, we typically answered to over 20 various parameters, estimated more over 20 parameters. A lot of attention we pay to the team, the founder, and the traction, and the market size and competition landscape. And after that, we make our minds as a group. So we have an investment committee where we discuss an opportunity and make a decision.
Do you have some kind of templates in due diligence or in investing to start off?
So I have a framework. So these are the 20 plus questions we need to answer when we put together an investment memo, and you can watch it in my. You can watch. You can participate in my venture analyst course. I show this template. So but it's typically a combination. So there are no perfect startups, and this is actually on purpose. So anytime when you make a decision, some parameters are great about the startup, but some are missing, and because of that, you're not certain about the outcome of a startup. But this is the part of the game. If you're investing in a company and there are no blind spots, no uncertainties, it means that the potential for upside is low. So every time you make a decision, yes, you have a template, you have questions, you have many parameters, but it's always a compromise. Sometimes you say, okay, there is a great team, there is a great competition, but they are very early in revenue. And sometimes you say, okay, they're probably less experienced, but look at them, they have a lot of traction. So it's always a combination.
Okay. What's the role of intuition in investing?
So I don't know if you have you ever thought about what is intuition?
I think it's a voice of your heart, maybe. If I say beautifully.
It's a mechanism actually, which was evolution developed in us to make kind of right decisions on the limited on a limited time and a limited with the limited information. So it's actually intrinsic ability to make kind of right decisions when you don't have enough information.
Yeah,
so
really?
This works that
you're
way.
Explaining from the point of view physics or math.
Yeah, so how it works. Imagine our ancestors, they were living in a forest and they see something blinking, and they suggest, "Wow, it's probably a tiger. I'd better run." Then it turns out it's not a tiger. It was your friend in a tiger shirt, but. Yeah, it's sometimes it's better. It's better to make kind of good decisions. And when we talk about intuition and feelings. These are the useful mechanisms which helped us to survive previously and still work. When you, it's like sometimes you talk to a person, you look at the numbers, and you feel like something wrong. It's not because you just don't like a person. It's something your sensors read, and they transfer some information to you, and you should listen to it. Sometimes you get
energetically or somehow.
Somehow, yeah. So, and the other thing you should pay attention to, and for me as a physicist, it was not obvious because my cornerstone has always been logic. So I like formulas, I like decisions, I like reasoning, and only later I learned that emotions actually is a very useful source of information. It's a pretty our neocortex is a pretty new, was pretty recently developed, evolutionally, and prior to that, animals and our ancestors relied on emotions as a mechanism to get in signals which helped you survive and achieve your goals. So and it still works. So if, for example, you are very reluctant to doing something, it's actually a signal which your brain sends to you that something's wrong. For example, I have if you're, for example, procrastinating and you're not launching something, it's really important to ask yourself, like, why? It's not because you're lazy. And it could turn out that you secretly don't believe in the success. And your organism optimizes your behavior, saying, okay, we're not doing it. We don't believe that we can succeed in it, we're not doing it. Or, for example, I just recently talked to one of my clients. He's an entrepreneur. He lives in Dubai, and he's up to launching a new startup idea in the field, and he was like still postponing launching an MVP. And I said, like, why? Tell me. And he told me two things. The first was, I'm really scared about the competition, scared of the competition.
So fear inside.
So it's not the fear about the competition. He was talking about there are well-established companies, how I can succeed. So his brain says, let's even not try it, just because we think that the other guys will succeed. And we talked it through, and I explained that in his particular situation, it's not the case. And the other thing he said, probably now is not the right timing for me in terms of where I am in my life and financial condition. So I said, probably we should postpone it. But the signal was it's what we figured out when we talked it through. But the signal was, I'll do it next week. Okay? And many people, including myself, don't pay much attention to those signals, like fear, procrastination and others. But they are signals, really important signals, which are transferring information. And if you decode it properly, you can change the game. So sometimes, for example, if you experience fear, you can decompose and understand what is exactly the reason for the fear. And sometimes this reason is not is not real. And when you understand it, you can come up with a plan and fix it. So this is why it's really important to trust your feeling. Sometimes they could mislead you, but it's really a useful instrument to get an additional layer of information your feelings, your intuition, those things which are like especially smart people, especially with technical background, typically ignore.
So last time you are mostly talking about emotional burnout of startups in your channel. So what about startup founders if they have such kind of stop during their journey, startup journey? They want to give up everything or there's some kind of depression. Did you face such kind of situation yourself?
Yeah, I'm an investor, so I can't say for all startup founders, but I've seen people, I've talked to them, and from what I understand, definitely they experience a lot of stress, and sometimes this sometimes they're very very disappointed, very burned out. Why is that? Because you, as a startup founder, you operate in the immense uncertainty, because aside from all the typical uncertainties and risks which any business has, like problems with taxes, problems with employees, problems with sales, you experience additional layer of risks is the risk of your market, the risk of your product, because it's I like this this saying that startup is a car which you build while moving across the road. Yes. So probably some of people who listen to this podcast, they are like young people and like just students, and if it's your first business, if you don't have experience, so probably a good intermediary step for you would be launching just an ordinary business. Like you could launch an IT outsourcing, or like start as an individual consultant, like developing some code for someone, and first first learn a little bit how to do like a normal business, and then you can apply it to more advanced businesses like startups, because typically an average startup founder is like about 30 years old, and they typically have like about 10 years of experience in some niche before they start a startup. So typically it's built by pretty experienced people. Yes, most of them like first-time founders, so they haven't been running their businesses, but they probably manage like hundreds of people working for like great companies like big tech, or banks, or financial organizations, or something else. So if you're, but sometimes people like Mark Zuckerberg, or who are who start their great, amazing companies like at the age of 19. Yeah, sometimes you can meet people like that, but typically they are they're geniuses. So, and I've seen people like that, because when you talk to them, you feel like you're in the room with a genius, because they are very smart. They are they ask questions themselves, and like people around questions you would never imagine yourself. So though when you see a success of a student, typically it's not an ordinary student. This person is brilliant, and this is one. And second, like look at Elon Musk. So far as I remember, he did his first commercial sales at the age of 14.
14.
14. Wow. So far as I remember, he developed a program and sold it to some company.
At the age of 14, yeah?
At the age of 14. So sometimes you see like, okay, he's just 18 or 22 doing business, but probably he was, kind of working, helping his dad in his auto repair shop, and he was kind of, supporting clients, etc. Or he was a very active student and organizing organizing people or selling something. And for example, in the United States, there is this is the culture of people, sellers, right? So you can see it in the movies when kids are selling cookies, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, many people just start very early. And for example, I have another friend who is 26. And he says like, well, I'm only 26 and like I'm very young entrepreneur. When we started to talk it through, he started his first business commercial activity at the age of 16. So I say like, you have already a 10-year experience. So you've built, yes, it wasn't a startup, but you've built quite a few businesses and earned like, $100,000 annually, for example. So at your age, it's a pretty good achievement.
In post-Soviet countries, selling was a bit shameful thing. What is the role of sales in startups?
So as with any business, it's the most
Very
crucial
important,
role because if you don't have sales, like you don't have business, right? Venture capitalists and business angels, they only help you to bridge the gap before you have negative cash flow for a while, but they all want you to build a business which is sustainable, and sustainable means you generate enough revenue to cover your costs, and you're growing like crazy. And you can't do it without sales. So at least someone in your team should be a salesperson, and in most of the cases, like we always ask like, who is that man or woman in your team, who is driving, like who is the business persona, who is driving your sales or your marketing, or like talking to clients, because otherwise, unfortunately, I experienced it from my personal experience when in 2020. To 2012, I was I was 25 or 26, where we launched and failed a startup.
Really?
And it was a marketplace for outdoor advertising, and we were developing a code for 6 months or before we started to talking to clients, and we were saying to ourselves that it's too early, we don't have ready product, we have nothing to show them. But the reality was that, first of all, we could talk to them from day one. And I even talked to one person, and it was a very negative signal, because she said that, probably we don't need it. She worked for a pretty big advertising agency, and she explained why. But I loved the idea that much, and I didn't actually love the idea, but I was into, like, I wanted to have a startup. So I lied to myself, and the week as the team continued, it ended up badly, because the market size was small, and we didn't know our clients. We developed code for a pretty long time, so we failed. I still believe it was a useful experience, like from the educational perspective, because if you don't try it, you never learn something, right? And business is the type of learning experience where you can't read books. You need to experiment and learn from clients, from trial and error, and stay positive. Try to stay positive, because you will have many downturns and many problems, and even this is actually important, because when first time startup founders talk to investors, they believe and they promise to be successful, promise to grow their business. They believe that we as investors, we expect that only good will happen, like in the startup development. But we understand the game. They understand that many of your startups will fail, and go bankrupt, especially at the very early stage. So where VCs and business angels are built for getting bad news. And we understand, like when you pitch us, we understand. So you have a plan of your your financial plan, and you can underperform. In some cases, it could be severe, and we don't do a follow-on investments, and we write off the investment. But in some case, you underperform, but we are still happy because we understand that that startup journey is a tough one, and it's not always shiny. And good companies, like even we have one unicorn in our portfolio, which could die. Like at the seed stage.
Which one?
I wouldn't go into details, but yeah, there was like very tough moment when they get bridge financing and recovered.
So they have recovered and became unicorn.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's talk about your portfolio. So how do you choose your startups? How do you invest? And in Uzbekistan, we have a lot of money in venture funds now. They are given to invest. We are investing, but we didn't face or to failure yet, to failure startups which go bankrupt. And I haven't.
You will in a couple of years.
I haven't heard about these kind of cases. So how should venture fund function in such kind of situations, or how government should act, or how to prepare them to such kind of situations?
You mean the government as a limited partners, or
most of Uzbek venture funds are backed by government money from banks, from agencies, etc. So I think they are not ready to such kind of failures. It's my opinion.
So first of all, you need to. So first of all, you need to explain that writing off companies for venture capital is is part of the game, because if you don't write off companies, then it means that you're not taking enough risk, and it means that you wouldn't get a high upside, and there is a temptation to invest in all companies which are like successful. But the reality is, if none of your companies is dying, then you're probably not in the business of venture capital, really? And and you wouldn't be growing, because there is a risk-reward curve. So if you don't take enough risk, you can't get those outsized returns. So especially if you're investing at the very early stage, like at the pre-seed stage, you will definitely be losing money on some deals. What is important is that you earn money on the portfolio. So how to persuade them? So giving them the benchmarks from the top VCs, you can use a service like Carta, for example, showing the numbers, and showing the reference cases from the top US companies, saying like this is normal. But I understand that on one hand it's a bit tough for such types of LPs to explain it, but you also need to understand like what's their motivation to do so. So sometimes people are doing it for PR, sometimes they want to get technologies, sometimes they want to get promoted, I don't know. So depending on the parameters and the reasons they are launching a fund, you can address that properly. For example, if you're if you're an ecosystem builder and you want to create more jobs, then you can reference to this one, saying okay, building an ecosystem takes time, and you can look into like Singapore, Dubai, and other countries, showing like how they did it, and explaining like we're investing in it. But it takes time to nurture the ecosystem, and you can, even in Uzbekistan, you could make a reference to IT Park, because IT park was not successful from day one, right? But
Yeah.
now they have many residents, they have many companies, big or small, running business, or BPO. It wasn't successful from day one, so you could show that some things are taking time, and you like try and fail, and then you get success. The other problem which funds face is that most of the startups, they're focused on the Uzbek market, and the problem of the many niches in Uzbek market is just it's really small. And Kazakhs, for example, faced the same problem, and they solved it, and they have more and more startups which are expanding globally, like mostly trying to expand to United States, but some are trying to expand to Southeast Asia or to the MENA region, and they've been on the same journey with the same problem of having a small market, local market, and in many cases, unless you're doing a B2C product, in many cases in Uzbekistan you have exactly the same problem. Because sometimes I once calculated a market for Uzbek market for a startup here, and the total addressable market was only $1.5 million.
In Uzbek market.
The whole Uzbek market. And this is why you need to be, honest with yourself, like about the real size of the local market, because, what means like total addressable market 1.5 million. It means that it's the maximum annual revenue you could get. In reality, you will get like $500,000, and with such a small revenue, you will never ever return on investments. You return the investments. For example, you raised like $1 million, and if you have an annual revenue of $500,000, like it's very unlikely you can earn money for your investors, and this is why you need to expand to the other markets.
So, by the way, you told about total addressable market. How should startup count total addressable TAM?
I have a video on that. You can add it in the description. But essentially, you make a reasonable suggestion about the price your client can pay, if it's several transactions a year, so how many transactions a year a client can do, and how much can you charge per each transaction. So you calculate the revenue per client, annual revenue per client. And then you suggest, the maximum amount of people who potentially, people or companies, clients which exist in your target geography, and then multiply these two numbers. So that's how you do it. It's not that sophisticated, and some of people who listen to us definitely are students or very very young people, and they will be trying to use LLMs, ChatGPT or others to do market research. And this is great that you're doing it, but keep in mind that they still hallucinate, and we also use LLMs for making market size analysis. So you could explain to the LLM what the market size you could calculate, but ask it to decompose how they did that calculation. You can ask it to do it to use 2-3 approaches, and ask it to provide sources of information based on which it did the calculation. Don't take blindly the value it gives you. But if you ask to decompose and ask about the resources and do this reality check, then you're okay. And I strongly encourage you to use LLMs to facilitate your market and the competitor analysis, but beware that sometimes it lies and hallucinates and provides incorrect information.
Okay. Great. So you have lived in Uzbekistan almost 2 years, yes?
Yeah,
like
it was,
you're Uzbek guy even. So How do you see Uzbek market, Uzbek venture capital market, startup founders from the from the outsider?
I believe you have made an amazing progress for this like 4 years, because when I came first, it was early 2022. Like there were only a couple of VCs, and like it was just starting, and now you have quite a few funds, which each of them have more than $10 million. You have many startups which were backed. You have incubators and accelerators. Your startups participate in various international conferences. So you and you have already like big stories like Uzum, for example. It's not like exactly a startup, but it's still like shows that the big company built here, it drives attention of investors. So I believe that you're moving pretty fast, and you're doing great, but it's still long journey, because it takes time to build a first successful company, like 5 to 7 years. So I know that some of the companies were acquired, some of the companies raised a few millions of dollars from international VCs. Some companies tried to expand to like MENA, or some companies are founded, especially in the logistics, in the trucking business. So some companies are founded and generate revenue in the US market. So you're trying it, but it takes time. And the Kazakh market has been developing for like almost 2 decades, or 15 years, something like that. So Kazakhstan had more resources to develop it. But it takes time to educate people, to give them try and fail, and you just need to keep going, understanding that this is a long journey. So probably 5 years from now, the ecosystem will be like very developed, and you will be a very amazing ecosystem. And many successful founders will be, building international businesses with a back office here in Tashkent or in Samarkand or some other even smaller like in Namangan for Fergana, and it will be a successful story. Like for example, you probably know the company InDrive, which started in Yakutsk in Russia. Like now it's an international company, or the company Miro, a unicorn and like used across the globe, but they started from Perm in Russia in 2011. So it just takes time to build those successful cases and efforts. And I know some people from the Uzbek startup ecosystem who are building it, who are facilitating those funds. They are very, very smart people. Very motivated people. So this is great to have people like that. Yes, there are limitations because a lot of government money involved here to build the ecosystem, and you need to comply with the risks and etc. But I believe that the people, at least those people who I know from the ecosystem, they are doing the best. Which they can do given the conditions, and you get a pretty significant progress.
What kind of risks can be in government money? And
so typically, governments across the globe, they want to understand, like if their money spent in a proper manner. So, and given that startups is all about failing, so you will have a significant share of failed startups. So there will be questions like, are you doing the right thing, etc. But you're not alone. Like you're not the only country which faced it. So it's all about educating and showing the results and explaining and that it takes time, etc.
What about education, startup education in other countries internationally? How can we implement their experience in Uzbekistan, for example?
So there are two types of education. So first is education for students, like startup diplomas and a lot of championships, hackathons, etc. for students. And I want to set the right expectation. This is an investment to the future. So most of those startups which participate in the competitions and try, they will fail, and that's okay because they are run by young people, and they don't have experience, but they try, they get this experience, and probably in 3 to 5 years they will try again. And even like for example, I have one friend. He was initially doing a startup. They failed, but then he switched and started working in a venture capital.
Yeah.
And or another founder.
It's like a cycle.
Yeah, because people like if you're in the business, in the startup business, you stay more or less the whole life here. And even in the United States, like for example, if a founder fails, and we have many cases like that, you failed your first startup. If you did the best which you could do, you will be funded again, and sometimes even with the same VC and we did it numerous times with our portfolio companies. So when the founder which we backed previously and he or she failed and launches a new business and new people like the new idea, we can invest. We can be one of the first checks because we know you. We know how you we know that you did the best to earn money for us. So why not to try to give you a second try?
I consider myself very lucky person.
Yeah, but you can't control the luck, right? So it's like sometimes you do the best you can do, but you still fail.
Yeah.
And for instance, sometimes it's just like your guys were, your competitors were a little bit more lucky than you. Sometimes it happens, and sometimes, like for example, we have companies in our portfolio, and they die because they didn't raise the next round, and then they didn't raise the next round because like the investor went crazy. So sometimes things like that could happen, and but you can't control the luck, but you do the best to increase the chances of this luck. So it's I don't remember exactly the term, but it's kind of guided luck. So you can improve the probability of the successful outcome by doing actions. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
For example, you have a coffee shop, or not a coffee shop. For example, you're doing like cakes, right? And especially in Uzbekistan, I know how those introductions and how those reputation works. So you start doing cakes, and you're doing a good cake, and like every time you have like a friend coming and saying, "Oh, do a cake for me, do a cake for me," and it goes through the network, right? So you can't control like that. The person comes and say, "I need a cake today," right? Because it's like statistical, it's a random event. But what you can do is you do proactive actions about, hey, okay, I have an Instagram, I can do some marketing here, I can, but the most important, I focus on providing exceptional taste for the cake and exceptional look and positioning it, and at the beginning, you are very limited in resources, so probably you can't do paid advertising, but what you will do, you will go and say to all of your friends, I've started the business of making cakes. cakes. So probably I know that your baby is having a birthday party tomorrow. Let me do the cake. So you do proactive actions, which increase the chances that the people will refer you, and that more and more clients come. Exactly the same with the startup. There are many parameters, like prerequisites for success, like successful founder, big market, right trends, etc., etc. But and there is like about a dozen of companies typically, which start more or less at the same time, which are doing the same, more or less the same things. Some fail because of execution. Some fails, for example, they were focused. They were very dependent on big client, which canceled. For example, some fail because of some other reasons. So, and even if you're a successful entrepreneur, like Elon Musk, for example, and if you previously built a big business, the chances that the next startup you're building becomes a unicorn is also pretty small, like about 50%, something like that, because you operate in the industry where there is a very high uncertainty, and I've seen many markets when everyone is positive about wow, now it's happening now, like virtual reality, for example. Yeah, I've been tracking it since 2014, but it was the fourth iteration of the virtual reality. And the previous decades, the industry tried to launch the product, and they were clumsy, pricey, etc., and they didn't become a standard. They haven't become a standard. And it didn't work out 10 years ago as well. Sometimes you try something, but the headwinds is pretty strong, and sometimes you can't understand it at the spot. So you try, you have some prerequisites, and then it fails.
Okay, so what is like to be in time?
Timing is a very important thing, and why timing is important, and why I pay attention so much attention to it when we analyze a startup and when I coach venture analysts, because just a second. Because millions of people across the globe are thinking about launching a startup, and it's obvious that sooner or later, in various parts of the world, a couple of teams come up with the same idea if the parameters are right. So we all sit and say, for example, with the AI, you probably for example, you're into car business, right? And you say, okay, now these LLMs, fancy LLMs are, working. So what if I apply it to my call center for selling cars, right? And brilliant idea, need to try it. But some other also came up with this idea. And if you're too early for the market, you try it and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So it's really important to look the history, of the context of how the category developed, and probably 3, 5, 10 years ago, someone tried to do what you're trying to do now, and they failed. It's okay. You just need to make sure that the conditions has changed. The conditions have changed.
And market is ready.
Market is more ready than it was previously. You could make a mistake, and you again be early to the market. But given this context that constantly, millions of people constantly are thinking about ideas, trying and failing if it doesn't work. So you understand. You can understand why, if the timing is right, startups are taking off, because we don't know about those who tried it previously, just because they died. Don't pay attention to. But when the timing is right, like sooner or later, the right timing comes and it takes off. So and if you are too late for the market, those guys guys or girls who were at the right moment, they just take off fast. And now some AI startups, they could like get from 0 to 10 million revenue like in a year. And if you if you are too late for the market right now, like you have a company which have already raised like $100 million. So they have just more resources. You just can't compete. So this is why timing is an important thing.
Great. What about AI? Is it bubble or revolution? What do you say?
Okay, let's decompose. These are the two different terms. Revolution is about technology. Bubble is a financial term.
Okay.
So if we look at that, when I hear, and exactly today, I made a post about AI, bubble, etc. But
I read it.
Yeah, but the main point is when tech people see someone saying it's a bubble, they get in defensive position just because they say this is an amazing technology which will change the world. It's working. It's important. We will already use, and we will use it even more. So this is what technical people see. But people who say there is a bubble, they don't say that technology is junk. Internet was not a junk. What happens, like when we talk about bubble, is the expectation is much higher than the reality, and the clash with the reality leads to the drop in the valuations, in the investments, etc. So don't get too offended when someone says AI is a bubble. It doesn't mean that it's a bullshit. It's a garbage. No, it's not. This is the technology which we will all adopt. The question is, so there are debates, like if it's it will be followed the current trend will be followed by a downturn or not. I personally believe it will, but I may be wrong. So there are some people saying it's the correction is around the corner. Some are saying like you don't understand, like it's the next big thing, and like people will lose jobs, like 20% or 40% or 80% of people will be unemployed, etc. I believe the truth is out there, as Mother Skyler said. But I mean, I personally think that we are it's a little bit overhyped. Why I believe so is when I talk to people who implement AI, the expectations of clients oftentimes are higher than the reality which they get. And my reasoning here is that it will take time. It is probably not only because the technology is not that advanced. Sometimes it's an implementation thing. Sometimes it's client doesn't understand what he or she really wants. So, but this, high expectations should meet the reality. And my understanding is it's it will lead to correction. So after the correction, after this disillusion, it will be a normal, productive, and it happens all the time. For example, like the most famous case, of course, with the internet, with .com bubble. But if we look at solar energy, the same thing. The first it got overinvested. And then, then many investors were scared of investing in hardware.
Climate tech, you mean?
like solar panels, like in this, the hype was around like 2007, 8, 10, 11.
But
and
it's
then,
actually very useful thing.
yes, and we see it like even in Uzbekistan, you see how many solar panels is installed. So, but it was not. It was not about. It was not about the technology as a garbage, right? We all see
Maybe
that
not right timing.
it's all about very high expectations with investors and the market set back then, and then the correction came. For example, you have probably heard about 3D printing, right? When I was, when I started working in venture capital, there was a hype around 3D printing, and everyone was saying like, well, everyone will have 3D printers in their houses. We will be printing things. We wouldn't be purchasing goods. So if you want something, you just print it while you go to the shop, etc. But and that was a madness. Like, and even me was a part of this madness. I said like, wow, cool.
But then my houses.
I didn't purchase one, but when I looked into I came to those and saw those 3D printers, I had a feeling like, it's not the thing which I would like to have in my house. So it's clumsy. It's it smells, etc. And then the market corrected, and the 3D printers have not disappeared. People are using them. They are very good at prototyping and other things. And there are many types of 3D printers, not only plastic, but also metals and bio 3D printers, etc. But the expectation a decade ago was far over the roof. And then in 2015, 16, it corrected and never returned to those expectations. Exactly with the drones. Like in 2014, we were thinking about everyone will be using drones, your goods will be delivered by drones, the first pizzerias Dodo Pizza, they delivered a drone, they delivered pizza with a drone, and you were thinking everyone will be about drones. But then a decade, almost the industry was not developing that far. Now it's have the second wave of development. First, because of the military, but it will be also conversion, more widely adopted conversion to the private applications as well. So this is what I'm saying, about the timing. Sometimes, or autonomous driving. You probably have seen those videos of autonomous cars in California. But when we launched, when those companies were backed, they all were selling a very bright future, which is around the corner. The reality is much more nuanced. So, and exactly the same will happen with first of all, when we say about AI, we specifically are talking about LLMs, visual or text LLMs. Because there are other types of AI which we have been using for a decade now, right? And it's interesting, for example, computer vision. I remember how it all started, I participated in some big conferences which Microsoft or IBM did, and they presented the cases, and big companies were coming and saying, well, we will never ever use that sheet. And then a few years after, retailers are implementing AI, computer vision, and it became mainstream, and now it's just a commodity. An amazing thing happened with this handwritten and text recognition. So when in 2007, when I started at my Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology, we had a course on computer vision, and then we used very basic algorithms, and reading a text was my mind-blowing task. Now you have in your smartphone, you have a Google Translate. You look at you use it you make a picture on You make a picture of a text, and it translates it and overlays it. So it's mind blowing how it happened fast. But so then exactly the same will be happening with LLMs. So probably there will be correction. But then it will recover and we will be using. And one interesting and an obvious thing, I told you, I love space. So 4 big names in tech have already announced building data centers in space. And it sounds crazy right now, but it's not. And the reality is those data centers, because of AI, they consume so immense power. And it will sooner or later it will become a problem for the ecology, for our ecosystem on the ground. So even using those solar panels, it could be a problem, because I've seen a forecast that like in 2030, AI data centers alone will consume energy as much as whole Japan consumes right now. So it's mind blowing, and because of that, like Google, Elon Musk, Nvidia, and who's the fourth one? I forgot the fourth one. They announced that in 2027 they plan to put data centers in space, and it sounds mind blowing. Like why you need like a data center in space and sending some information from Earth to process it? But the cool thing about the data center in space, sun shines like all the time, and if you launch it there, it flies on the orbit and consumes energy, solar energy day and night, and you don't abuse the ecology, Earth ecosystem with this immense energy consumption and immense heat. It's happening in space. So that's interesting development, which could be we can see in the next couple of years.
I read even information. Your ask to ChatGPT consumes 5 liters of water or something like this. They spend 5 liters of water to answer to your questions like this. Is it true? No.
This is exactly one of the things which also concerns me. I mean, it's not only about water. It's about like you sometimes ask ChatGPT like stupid things. You could like just go and ask Google, and like basic Google, and it will answer to your questions like pretty good.
Yeah, most of people do this.
Yeah, but you go to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT or similar services, it's like using a microscope to like a hammer. In many cases, and exactly the same with this adoption of AI agents in all the industries. In many industries, it will be just cheaper to use labor. So it all depends. It's all about economics. It's all about unit economics that you have. And one of the problems which AI startups have is, unlike SaaS businesses, where you just build a SaaS business, you write and run it, and the spendings on the data on the servers is about like 5%, for example. When you run an AI business, you can have a very thin margin, just because like you spend like 60% of your revenue on processing on data centers, because it's a pretty like compute and stance thing. So you need to pay attention to this unit economics and build your business model around it, because people are sending a lot of requests, and the number of requests will be growing, and you need to calculate properly so that you're not losing money on the subscription or whatever you have.
Great. So we have discussed AI startups, which are very common in Uzbekistan now, and I would like to ask about valuation, startup valuation. How do you evaluate startups, and is high valuation a blessing for startups?
Okay. Okay. So first of all, I want a little bit to talk a little bit about like theory. It's like what is valuation and how is it different from the price?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go to a shop and you see like a price tag, right, and you purchase something. If you want to buy a flat, for example, when you buy a flat, an apartment, you sign a contract and there is a price. But before you buy an apartment, you go to a bank, then they ask you a valuation, and just to get a mortgage, to get a loan. And valuation is the estimate, like upper and lower end of an assumed price, while the price is the some value, the number, which both parties, investors and startup founders, for example, or like seller and buyer, want to do a transaction on. If the product is simple, like to get a loaf of bread, for example, then the price is set by a market and it fluctuates a little bit. Of course, if you go to a restaurant, a loaf of bread costs much more than it costs in Korzinka, right? But if you go to any like shop, it's more or less in the same range. It's because the product is not sophisticated. If you're selling a car, it's also more or less more or less standard price, but it also depends like how good or bad the car is, and like how you treat it, how you used it. But when it comes to more sophisticated products, like factory, for example, or a startup, it's less obvious how to reasonably estimate how much it costs. So, and to estimate this upper and lower limits, there are several approaches, and those who have degrees in finances, they know about it. But the most, the easiest approach is comparative method. So essentially, as you do it when you buy an apartment, you look at several apartments and you say, I like this more, right? But and you compare it. Okay, these guys are selling like this apartment at this price, and I need to remake it and some other parameters. So you make up your mind somehow that you want this exactly apartment at this price. Exactly the same approach venture capitalists do. So we look at many startups, and we look, okay, this startup have less experienced founders, but they have more revenue, and these startups like the second-time founders, like with $100 million exit, but with no revenue, and you kind of like see hundreds or thousands of those startups over your career, and you understand, okay, at a given point of time, I'm willing to pay that much for this startup. So this is how really the price is set up. But it also explains why, if you're a startup which operates in Uzbekistan, you can't get a valuation that high valuation as the startup on the US market. You can do the same. You can even try to address the same market, but the problem is when you're like located in Tashkent, most of the VCs which we will be looking at you, startup will be like local VCs.
Yeah.
If you're in California, the VCs which we're looking at you like will be the Californian VCs. There are like much more of them.
Valuation will be higher.
No, valuation goes high, so it's like a balance of supply and demand, and now getting back to, so this is how like it's driven. Now getting back to your point, like why a high valuation could be bad for a startup. A very high valuation. So first of all, valuations also fluctuate like a year over year. So it fluctuates like now it's kind of growing, and for AI startups it's kind of growing. But investors look at it that way. If we have this valuation, we could earn that much money. And if your valuation is extremely high, and typically you need to raise next investment round, you typically investors would like to see like at least double in your valuation on the next round. Otherwise, if you're doing flat valuation, they are not happy. So, and if you have a high valuation and if you have very low revenue traction, it means that investors of the next round will be like more skeptical of investing in your company at a higher valuation. And you just, by increasing your valuation, you just, and have with lower results, you just decrease the number of potential investors which could invest in you at the next round.
Stages,
Yeah, at some point, and typically, you know, as it's with the flat. For example, if your flat is like, you know, have some specifics so that no one like very few people want to buy it. So first of all, they understand that very few people want to buy it, and they will, you know, negotiate with you because of that. Second, because of that lower, because those investors are also doing this, you know, unusual deal for a reason, and probably there is something weird about those investors which are doing this this deal with unreasonable price. And third thing is, so like you're not only decreasing the number of investors, you probably can get in troubles with those people because not of them are like shiny, and they could be like they could cause trouble to you. And the third thing is, so at some point you can reach the point where no one wants to invest in you. So this is the main risk of getting high valuation. And the other reason is like immense pressure on you as a founder. So if you get a high valuation, like get good results. And the other thing which don't many founders think of, actually investors have many financial instruments how to adjust the valuation. So for example, if you do an equity round, you get a high valuation, and you can get participate in liquidation preferences, which will correct the valuation when you sell the company, and they will earn their necessary amount, and you as a founder will get nothing. You can sell a company for $100 million and still get nothing. So be reasonable and find the balance. Because the last thing, if you're getting high valuations like at each round, at some point company just becomes pretty pricey, and that's okay probably. But we all as investors, we think about like how we will exit the company, who will purchase it, and at some point, if your company is like, you know, it becomes very pricey, highly valued, the only way to you is to go public. And there are like very few companies, like less than 100 tech companies a year, even in the United States, goes public. So it's a very rare event. And you can't go public if you don't have good financial results. So it's so the trick and the problems come not right at the spot. They come along the way. So keep that in mind. But I'm not saying that you need to sell your company for cheap. It's just you need to have this balance. And thanks God, now we have many services where you could do and look at in your geography, in your like this year, like what is the range. So for example, Carta, KPMG and others, they publish like the reasonable ranges for valuations of startups in the given countries at a given time. So you just use that that range as a guidance, and also adjust this guidance talking to some investors. To some investors, to understand if it's like in the market or like very, or it's the twice of the valuation typically investors pay for the company.
Good. So from discussion, I understood like going public is like desperate move.
No, it's not desperate move. It's not a desperate move. It's a very big success typically, but you get there when you have built a very big company. So only very few companies can get there because to public market to accept they also have some ideas about how big should be your company. It's not a desperate move. What I want to say is that it's very rare event, and you need to reach to some revenue parameters before you can go public. And if you have a very high valuation, what I'm saying is that the higher the valuation, the fewer companies can acquire you. And yes, there are deals when the companies got acquired for billions of dollars, or for example, Warner Brothers now. There is discussing a deal for billions of dollars. Yeah, some big acquisitions happen, but they happen rarely, and you need you need to keep it in mind.
Okay, great. So I'd like to ask about red flags in startups for you.
So the first red flag is, I wouldn't say like all of them are red flags, but the first concern is when the startup addresses very small market. Typically, startup founders should be in the United States. They should be addressing $1 billion market, or if your market is like 500 million, you need to have a plan how to expand it to $1 billion. This, especially as I said, for Uzbekistan, many markets are too small, and some founders pitch, okay, we will start in Uzbekistan, we will build a business, and in a year or in 2 years from now, we will go public, go to another market. And there is the problem with this is many fail in this journey, and one of the problem, it's on one hand it's about clients think differently, and it takes time. It takes you time to start selling to those clients in the other market, and sometimes even the product is different. So we had experience for example, a founder in our portfolio in Kazakhstan. He successfully sold in Kazakhstan, and then he tried to sell exactly the same product in the United States, and the business processes, it was a B2B solution, and the business processes were acting differently there, and it didn't work out at all. So this is why investors are really skeptical in investing in the phase when you need to make this transition. And many founders actually do something on the local market, because they just think it's easier for them.
What's pain point in transitioning to the international market from the local?
The pain point. So first of all, you don't know.
Pay attention.
You don't know, how to sell to your clients, how to find them, how they make decisions, what product they exactly need. Then there is a difference in the customer acquisition strategies. So you just probably in Uzbekistan you have a very low advertising cost, while when you try to sell it in the United States, like the valuation the cost grows like 10 times higher. And unit economics, which worked in Uzbekistan, doesn't work in the United States. For example, in Uzbekistan, you have a very cheap labor. You could, use direct sales approach. While if you try the same in the United States, it's just too pricey at your low check to do this sales through direct sales, and you need to adjust another strategy.
So, a lot of startup founders in Uzbekistan as well. What kind of advice can you give them for scaling to international countries? internationally, I mean, to international markets?
So first of all, do your homework on doing competitor and market analysis. Spend a month or two to better understand. Then talk to someone from your network who tried to expand to this market. Get some specifics and problems and people. You can use Kazakh cases as references, so you could talk, because the entrepreneurs from Kazakhstan started earlier this journey, and to better understand like. What's possible, what's not, what are the problems. Then you will definitely need sometimes it's a good idea to participate in some good high quality accelerators in the target market, because they give you some money and they give you some some network
connections.
and they give you like a signal that you're a good company. So you could use it to experiment, and you can use it like as a kickoff. But in most of the cases, especially tech founders, they want to delegate sales or marketing to an expert from the from the market which they expand into. But many people have lost a lot of time and money on that. Why? Because you have the most motivated people are founders themselves, while an employee, outsourced employee, they like their motivation is to earn money. And for example, you hire a sales to develop sales for your product on the US market, and first of all, typically you're like the best sales reps are not available for you, so the person you hire it could be like not that high quality, and they try to sell your product 3 to 6 months and then they quit. And you lose money. They go to work to another place, and you just lose time and money. And this is why initially the best recommendation is to start founders, selling themselves, because it's efficient. And the other thing why it's more efficient is you need to figure out. When you just step in the market, there is a lot of information about specifics of the market and the specific requests which you get from the clients, and those hired sales reps, they wouldn't be they wouldn't be transferring this information to your team. They just get forget. They don't. Sometimes they don't have motivation, and you trying to do something and you don't understand like why sales isn't working, and this is why at the very early stage when you expand to the market, it's like you can't delegate it. You need to do it. Start doing it yourself. Then later, when you better understand the product, better understand the niche, better understand everything, you probably start hiring people to delegate it. But yeah, this go-to-market is not something you could easily delegate, especially at the very earliest stage.
Great. If Uzbek startups go to international venture funds like yours, how will they see Central Asian venture startup founders?
So the international investors, investors at the target market. For example, you expand to MENA, like from Central Asia, they actually don't give what they will ask, like, show us that you could succeed here. So they don't really care about your nationality. What they care about is if you can succeed in this market. So, and this is why in most of the cases, when you expand to another market, you typically raise your first checks from your friends, community, VCs from your country, just because for them you are like one of the best deals. While for VCs on the other market, you just yet another company. We just started doing business here, we don't understand like if you will be on the market still like 6 months from now. So they don't discriminate you because of your nationality or the country you're coming from, but they want to see that you can succeed in this given market.
Yeah. You should prove yourself, yes?
Yeah, and this is why, for example, if you, I know that people in Uzbekistan are like fans of the UAE. So if you expand, for example, to the UAE, so far as I know, there is an accelerator, Hub 71, by Sheikh Zayed, so far as I remember. So like it's kind of, quality mark. So if you're expanding to this market, probably it's a good idea to apply and to participate in it. Not because you will get a lot of learnings there, but because of you getting some network and experiment with that.
Yeah, we have been in their university as well, AI university first, bin Zayed. Okay, can you name 3 interesting startups for you nowadays?
You mean like big companies which...
Not big, just interesting for you. You see their future.
So, I see more than 1,000 startups a year. It's hard to
Or
pick.
let's say the not names of the startups, like niches.
So so first of all, like I have a separate intensive where I help founders to find idea for startups and do their MVP, and there are like about 200 niches when like in my approach when we look into. So there are many niches, and in many of those niches you could succeed. For example, I recently worked with a girl, and she was passionate about art, like paintings, etc. And we found the niche where like pretty big companies are built in this niche using AI. So I would say look at the niches, different niches, like logistics or construction or whatever niche you're passionate about, and think about like what technology can do new for the niche. For example, I've seen guys from Kazakhstan. They're doing business in the United States now, and they are applying AI for sale of used cars, selling used cars.
Used cars, interesting.
Yeah. So and then now what's happening on the market? Like you have very existing niches, and many smart people, they're saying, okay, now LLMs enable that way. You could eliminate a person and use AI agent. So how it will change economics of the businesses in this niche? Let's try it. So this is the approach. So we at A2BF, we look into vertical SaaS, vertical AI solutions. So we go niche by niche, like from very well-known niches like construction and logistics, all the way down to the very unknown niches like for computer vision for cattle care farmers.
Do you seek startup founders by yourself, or they came with application to you?
So it's different. Typically, we proactively reach out to founders as well. They reaching out to us. They reaching out to us like cold contacting both and through introductions, or we look at alumni of accelerators, or we got introduced by another VC who is investing in the same startup. So there are many ways how people come to us, but typically those which we get through referrals, or those which we proactively reach out ourselves. So what we do, we also scrap internet and see the companies which are in our vertical SaaS niches, and we proactively come to the founders and say, hey, are you fundraising? So it typically gives better results than founders reaching out to us, cold contacting. But we read the emails, especially if they are very well built. But one thing which many founders do wrong is just they do mass mailing So they scrap like thousands of emails of VCs. They don't pay attention what exactly those VCs do. They just shoot like a mass spam, very poorly written emails and LinkedIn messages, and like you just get trashed spam or even oftentimes I just read an email, I see that it's not relevant. Yeah, I either say not relevant or don't even say anything at all. Just because the inflow of those such garbage messages is like immense right now. Because everyone can send an email, right?
Okay. So if you were starting your startup today, what would you do differently?
So first of all, I would pay more attention to the research before I write the first line of code. So that's particularly in my case, there were several problems. First of all, I was not really concerned about the problem itself. So my idea was stupid back then when I was 26. So we were building a marketplace for outdoor advertising. I haven't been from the market. I joined the team just because I wanted to do any startup, and my friend was saying like, "Oh, there is a brilliant idea." So I didn't care actually what I would do. So I didn't really love the idea. So the first thing I would encourage you to do is be passionate about what you're doing. Then before starting and writing the first line of code, I would do like a little bit of more market research. Don't like over, but I would spend a month or two probably talking to clients, better understanding like niches, experts, etc., to make up my mind what I could do, like if there is a need at all, before I spend any resources. Then I would use some those LLM AI tools to develop some MVP, to test it out, and I would be very prudent about money which I need to get the first traction. Then I would raise funding. So before raising funding, I would test like that there is a market need. Yeah, do research, test the market need, better understood. Got the first paying clients, and probably then I would go after paying clients.
Okay, thank you so much. And my last question is about movies. You said you watched Kung Fu Panda, so
I actually love those 3D animated cartoons and movies. I love movies. I love science fiction. And I love movies, motivational movies. And why I love Kung Fu Panda? Because it's about outlier. And what I really loved about the idea is that, like, you probably remember they had a secret sauce, right? And the antagonist, he was a very good warrior, and he wanted to get the script to become a super warrior. And because of that, his soul became dark, and this is why he didn't get it. But the end of the movie was the panda opened the script, and there was nothing in it except for the mirror.
No secret sauce.
So, and this is a story about you actually could become a superhero because this secret sauce is you, because you believe in yourself. So that what I like about this movie, about the outlier can become successful, and because you don't need to have superpowers to become Superman, and you can do it. And that's motivational for me, and I typically tell those motivational stories to my subscribers, so that people got motivated and can do something really amazing, because we all in this industry, we are doing very tough things. We're not doing something which is easy, and to succeed we need some motivation and success stories and people who inspire us. So I try to become one.
Thank you so much for coming, for what you do, for education. If you have some advice, something to say, please.
One last thing which I want to tell to our listeners is, startup is a tough and very long journey. It's a marathon, so buckle up. It will be a bumpy ride, but the only way to survive this ride is to do what you really love, what you really are passionate about, what you really care about. So pick the problem which has, which personally motivates you for whatever reason, and make sure early that there are people who are ready to pay for what you're doing, and then just focus on execution. And remember that there will be many dark moments and many moments when you want to give up. It's just the part of the game. And the last thing, I also encourage you to find your tribe. So in any country, only a very small percentage of people, say 1% of people, who would like to do startups. It's just statistically 99% of the population in any country don't understand us. So, and both you, me, and all of you, you probably hear from your relatives, friends, like you probably get a job, you probably get a mortgage, etc., etc. But like all entrepreneurs hear that, especially all technology entrepreneurs hear that, and it's really tough. Finding when I say finding your tribe, be in some communities, surround yourself with the people who are like you, who like have friends, other founders, be like around people, or it could be like 2 or 3 people, for example, not a big community, who understand how hard it is to you, because you can't get an advice from your dad sometimes, like if he's not an entrepreneur, but you can get an advice from a person who has been on your track a couple of years ago.
Who understands
and this, sharing your fears and problems with people who can understand them, who can to whom it resonates to, is really important, because being an entrepreneur is a pretty lonely journey. You can't share all your problems and fears with all your employees. But if you hide your fears and don't work on that, people feel that something's wrong. So if you're under immense stress and you're not dealing with it, sooner or later your employees will feel like something's wrong, and because of that, business could die. So treating your mental wellness as well is important, because it's all about productivity, and it's all about motivation of your team and improving chances of your success. So the last recommendations: find your tribe, be among people who could understand your journey is tough and who could support you in the darkest hours, and they will definitely come. But after darkest hours, definitely will be, brightest hours. So,
great words. Thank you so much.